that Harpoon, there's so many fishing spots around here. This is one of the strongest sides. So as a caveat, I do my champion grind at the start of the season, every season, but I am also not good at the game compared to all of you who actually end up playing it, particularly during that time. So I spend a lot of time on the outside of the map fishing, just trying to find areas where I can kind of eke out my placement points. This is one of the strongest areas. It's worth fighting over. There's a ton of extra utility there, and the reason we're hanging around this fight is everywhere else has kind of slowed down. You can keep an eye on that top left-hand corner, but this is really the action happening on the map here. As you'll see, Rhythm will actually get taken out as they're trying to disengage, and some great shots coming through from DJ and Iamzo.
And just great usage of the Spider-Man Mythic Web Slingers there just to get on in, secure the loot, get the elimination. But not only that, this is an elim denied to the other team that was fighting down low, 20, right? They got the knock originally, but the pickup came through, so they put in all that work for a little bit of Storm Surge, but they don't get any points. It's very important to take away from that. And now, look, they might be getting taken out here completely as they do. Iamzo comes on in from the other side. 2 eliminations for him now. And talk about a great, great third party for them.
Hello?
Oh, fantastic decision making going down there.
Hey,
that's the benefit if you're able to catch people who get bogged down on the exterior, and Zone then pulls on top of them. They think they're safe to kind of invest a little bit more into the fight, right? But if you're the one who ends up showing up and putting the pressure down onto them, and you can see, like, yes, they maybe are able to quickly isolate a 2v1, but if you don't capitalize on that, then you are in a vulnerable position to others who can then start the fight. So now we're going to get a look at some of the other teams, and I think one team we probably haven't spoken enough about, if at all so far, was in our bottom right hand there. We'll peek in with them in a sec with Bucky and Cam, but I mean, don't forget, Monster, they dominated, and I mean dominated the first qualifier to the point where they basically stopped playing the last 3 games, and we're like, we need how many points to get through? Okay, that sounds good. We'll show up, we'll get our a couple of eliminations, guaranteed a couple placement points, but we'll go on ahead.
Oh, well,
yeah, they played just out of their minds, but they are contested, right? So we do know there's a little bit of risk in the bugle where they're dropping Bucky and Cam, making it look nice and easy though. Take a look at the loadout here, maxed out in a vehicle in play, making a quick rotate right now across. They're gonna go ahead and hunker down here to play for Max Mats, but Cam and Bucky, keep your eyes out on them. They have played just exceptional Fortnite, well above the rest of the competition, at least judging by their week 1 performance, and they didn't even play the full deck of cards, right? Like you said, they came in, showed us what they got, and then they stopped sharing strategy because teams will look at how good you do if you are #1 spot. So there's a lot to be seen, I think, from Bucky and Cam this season.
Yeah, but one thing to note, as we get in that Storm Surge warning, that's on the right-hand side of the screen above the map. You can see there's 66 above. Storm Surge will do 25 damage every 5 seconds to the duos who have done the least amount of damage to their opponents in the lobby. It triggers on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th zones, and then and 30 players respectively. So now if you take a look in that top left-hand corner, Monster, we're going to have right now 10 duos who will be under pressure, so you expect a lot of action to be going down, and Owl and Cracked are one of those duos. TK is another one of those duos, and you can see that Chubbs and Elite Scented Fan, aka Twix, but I'm just going to call you Scented Fan so we can give Scented all the clout that goes through there, are another one of the duos who are either under pressure or right on that line. And honestly, TK and them are fighting Chubbs and Twix right now in that bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, with how many players you have up, it's looking like FNCS qualifier week 1. It is a stacker of a round right here. This is a very, very interesting early game, and these are some great fights coming from TK and Visuals there as they clean up that duo without a problem there, catching them out. I was going to say dry in the lake, but that's not impossible. They were so, and then they were doused. It was over right there.
Yeah, I mean, fish in a barrel, but like it wasn't even that. It might as well just like chucking dynamite while you're ice fishing. It's just not even fair. You end up getting down there, but as you can see here, don't question the physics on it. Just roll with it. Bottom right-hand side to Roller, spraying some shots out there. Trying to see if they can't get some tags there. They are just right on the line, 4 below, 15 above, and don't forget, that's 25 damage every 5 seconds, and that's going to kick off in 10 seconds. So we've already seen 3 full duos worth of players end up dropping down as we go from 89 to 83 before that pressure even comes out, and now the 25 every 5 seconds will start.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for Owl and Teed, who are inside the zone, being held right now, and a player behind them barely above the surge as well, just holding on by a thread. There it is, now 40 below here. They do have a lot of heals to work with, but Teed, if Teed can't pop one right now, he is out of this game, and he does get one just in the nick of time. Mind you, he is truly in a race against the clock here. There it is, the surge comes through as the tags from the enemies holding them out, and they're going to go out and get wrapped up potentially here. Owl by himself on the other side, though. Beef and Nick in a very intense fight here.
Yeah, it's in the bottom right-hand corner, trying to get the shots across, but we've talked about how versatile and how good the Med Mist is at negating so many things. Storm Surge is one of the things it is not time efficient for. You can't actually gain any HP battling against it coming through. It will end up being just straight up offset, especially when you're standing in the storm like that. So Cracker's just sitting there losing HP, and now the dust settles. We have one single solo rider going as we drop from 70 to 69 players remaining, but otherwise, everyone has a battle buddy right now.
My gosh, talk about a little congested pocket right here. This is the south portion of the zone. Players trying to make their rotates in. Miro and Booga sitting right underneath about 4 or 5 other teams in his general vicinity here. And here comes the rotate. They're going to go for it early. Miro tagged up on the way out. Bucky and Camdo, however, in a 2v2 situation here. Looks like they already have a knock and possibly a finish on the way there. Def's going to throw on these armored walls. Pur's on the other side, though, holding on just barely there with a knock player inside the box. What is going on here? Cam and Bucky take their wins and move on. That was a little surge battle there.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's a smart play because they're not worried. They're obviously not worried about this surge having it turned off, but they're able to get the disengage as we see in the top left-hand corner. Larson and Smite going down. They've had incredible success off the drop, but then Weaver in the mid-game as keeping an eye on that top left-hand corner. Looks like Golden and Walker's also being taken out. Booga and Miro just on the outside of the door. They're going to top off on this side. You can see Booga and Miro with the only NA's team with 15+ points in each game during the qualifiers, and largely they've been doing it on the back of a very calculated and precise play, trying to just make it into the end game, find the rotation, find the space, play moderately on the outside of the zone, try not to get too congested, and just find a layer where they can exist, knowing that when they get in the end game, they are both so absurdly individually talented that if they get an opportunity, the points are going to be there every time.
Yep, for sure. The points are definitely going to be available. And talk about points being available. A lot of the young blood getting taken out right now. Fable Taco and Jackson being the 2 in the feed there to the hands of Mero. And then Peter Bot finds Oliver OG in his first FNCS. Big final stage there as well. Knocked and finished already in the game. I wanted to give another hats off and shout out to Walkers, whose dad I know is watching right now too. So, you know, a lot of people making their way through here, man. And, you know, the social game, you know, a lot of love coming in. We want to encourage you guys. Continue to play, continue to strive for greatness, because there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of new faces here making their FNCS appearances.
Yeah, I saw that post on the comp Reddit. He was talking about going through. Got to give SBG a shout out as well, saying he like went, studied the VOD reviews, did a lot of individual work, and was able to then end up kind of rise up. And that's what Fortnite's all about, right? You talk about how there's all of these established players going through, and you see some big orgs coming through, but you don't need any of that to end up competing at the end of the day, right? You can just hop in as long as you're in that Champion League. You're able to go and compete, especially now in this season. If you're not in Champion League, there are still other tournaments you're able to play, and yes, you don't have the cash prizes associated with them, but you can still kind of get what the environment is, take it a little bit more seriously. It's a little bit more sweaty, a little bit more pressure than those typical arena games, and it kind of gets you used to the environment, and you can dip your toes into that pool and say like, hey, is this really for me, and kind of see where it is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to continue to see people thrive. For now, though, Jamper and Duke's trying to do just that. 4 eliminations. Sundown, take a look at the points here. 14 leading the lobby right now. Currently in 4th place, Bucky and Cam need to watch out. This is the team that is hot on the iron right here. They're putting some shots down, not afraid to pressure anyone back, and just look at the amount of heals they have. This is a sign of them playing very, very optimal so far. Seems like now, though, there is a little bit of traveling they have to do to get to the zone there. Instead of recycling the team nearby, they're just going to go with their own tarp. Okay, that's going to dig heavily into the material count. But mind you, next zone's half in, half out. Let's see how this ends up working out for them.
Yeah, and they got 2 teams staring directly at them on a line who have already invested in full built metal. But as we take a look at this zone monster, I mean, there are 2 very big high grounds in play that are already completely stacked with triangles. And I mean, there's even another one on the eastern side there that already has two duos just kind of billy-goated up on it. We can see one of the duos on the opposite side. Everyone trying to get a little vertical and kind of get right on the side here. We generally will call this billy-goating because basically you just want to perch up on the side, try and minimize the number of it, use the mountain cover to just minimize the number of hard mats you have to invest. But this is going to be very tough for the team on the lower part, especially if we see the half in, half out pulled directly towards these already established high zones.
Yep, that's what they're hoping for. You put up all your materials, you put your resources into securing a mountainside, and then you just pray the zone pulls your way. And if that does happen, you're pretty much guaranteed an end game, depending on how high you are. And look at this. One of the zones are going to pull here. It's going to be the easternmost mountain. Of all the ones that it could have went to, it went directly right on top of this, honestly, very vertical position over here on the east.
Yeah, and you can see everyone was like trying to push all of their chips in on red or black, and instead the ball just fell off the table and went over on the side. And seems like a couple people were even invested in that decision coming out there. As you can see, Mira Booga, they're in just an awful position. And honestly, they're just hoping that these three other duos go down and that threshold on the right-hand side doesn't drop, because 26, you're thinking, hey, that's a decent number, when in reality, normally it's not. That's 2 or 3 rifle bullets coming through when it comes to Fortnite damage scope. But on the right hand side, we do see the duo who we hyped up so much, and them getting the surge coming through is Bucky and Camp. They're under pressure now, just barely above, 3 above with another solo who's getting hit, but it's going to be their full duo who's going to be the one taking the damage, and they go out. So maybe a little bit of a caster's curse coming through, as Cold and Scented are going to be the ones who end up getting credit for that. But we're going to swing back on over. Mira and Booga still under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, this is tough. They did hit the low pad here. They end up making it all the way through, and you saw for a brief moment there the shot of what that mountain looked like. There was pretty much a singular team at the top of it. Jack's gonna get the full elimination credit onto Bucky, by the way, who did fall in the zone there that you saw. So big you know, set of points right there for Jack. And honestly, the siphon is what's most important here. Now, an impressive performance from Cold and Scented thus far. 3 eliminations inside the placement points as well.
We just saw Booga get an Elim in the feed, and if they're able to get the loot from that, that's huge, because they so desperately needed a refresh. You can see on the right-hand side, where will that zone end up pulling? Whoever gets priority here is going to end up being huge, and we're going right back over to the top of that other mountain we talked about, Monsters. So the big one that was in play, we're going straight there. So this is really important, because we're going from an established high ground to one that was already an established high ground. So if a team can get up there and had old builds on that area, they might be able to save some. If somebody already tunneled into this area, they could effectively just turn around and tunnel back. For anybody who invested a launch pad, use some of those web slingers going through, they're going to be in a very tough spot.
Yeah, it seems like Mira and Booga are going to be in the toughest position right now. And look at this, Mira and Booga right there on your feet, barely holding on with HP. Booga's actually going to commit the pepper here, as he's going to have to make this rotate 26 below. You know, honestly, tags aren't the issue here. It's really just staying alive and getting to the next zone. They're trying to do just that. Mira's tagged up. Booga already lost his shield. They're going to work with one another, get inside the bush here. Trying to play for a siphon is the only guess that I can make here. And now comes the recycle. Here comes the full rotate in. They're behind a pressure. Don't see there. Max HP, but Mira does what he does best, and he just steamrolls through that opponent there. Trashy gets deleted and taken out of the competition, and then picked up these HP here. Miro now left by himself to clutch here. What can he do? He's already done a lot. This is a tough ask for him to earn any more, but hey, the pressure's on, and the option's on the table now. He has to stay up here.
Right now, we can see pressure on the side, trying to get in, and I was just waiting for it. Backside of the zone, Old Man Mountain in play. There's so many players who are going to try and do the exact same thing, but up on the high ground, and they are way above everything. Knifer and Bila just raining down shots. We're going to hop in. Scented picking up yet another knock. That was onto Elite's Nico. Cold already sitting on 2 eliminations. This will be their 4th once it goes down, and at this point, nobody's getting picked up. 7th zone revealed, and we're going out right to the base of another mountain in play. So tons of variability in high ground. The question for Knifer and Bila is, how many builds do we have? Is my prediction the bottom right-hand corner. They've seen nearly every single possible game that could have been played in the qualifiers. They're trying to get themselves above the Storm Surge threshold. They just just barely do it as Scented Cold are also just barely above it. Currently, somebody is getting hammered on by that damage, but Iamzo and Degen finally end up taking the high ground away from Knifer and Byla as they have to give it over as they run out of materials.
What a fight between Degen and Iamzo, Knifer and Byla from drop spot now to end game here as they start to battle it out for the top position here. But Commandment Stretcher also on that layer. They take out Knifer. That's a big elimination for them here. They are just racking up. Scented and Cold also in the game here. 5 eliminations now. Picked up another one here. Scented is by himself. 2 duos sitting on top of his cone. They don't even know he's there. Will he make the edit? They could be very weak. There it is. Scented actually gets a huge shot before getting taken out there. Back on over to Stretch now. Commandment is down. Will he play for the save here? There's another opponent behind this wood wall. It's either full commit type of situation or go for the pickup instead. He's going to play defensively first here. Zone's coming in a little bit quick. He does get the med miss just in time. He's going to go ahead and tank this storm here in hopes that it bounces back, but he is way too far. I don't know if this is the right decision here. He's going to have to break the floor. This is literally a ticking time type of situation if a Siphon doesn't come through on high ground. No, Iamzo and Degen there looking very, very good. Here comes Stretch trying to slide his way in, and he does make it in the end there, Sundown.
Into the top 10, 15 HP, but also keeping an eye in the top left. My boy, OMG, Me Too, and Shadow. 1X still running through. Stretch finds a little room. Gonna top off with the rest of the med miss. Also gonna pop some minis, but on the low ground, we have Pamsto and Fatch going right up against OMG, Me Too, and you can see Me Too ends up taking one out. Qua ends up picking up Byla as he drops down. Me Too ends up going down to Magnolia on the other side, and Stretch is just chilling. He's found a nice little pocket. He says, this is a good pocket. This is nice. I like it here. Player's gonna keep going down, and unfortunately, he goes down, but hey, he'll take a top 6 as Iamzo and Degen still just raining shots down from above. I believe there's 2 other duos who are still up, and another solo who's running through. Duke's on 6 eliminations himself right now, Monster, trying to find some space.
Yeah, he's just coming through like a wrecking ball right now, trying to work his way through these builds here, picking up anything and everything possible. Now inside some wood builds, though, does have to be very, very careful as he starts to break through. I mean, his position's blown, his cover's out. He starts to look up to high ground. Actually, that could change things a little bit, but no, not enough firepower there, not enough of an angle here. Now onto low ground, up against Sisu, made it all the way through to the end. This is a little bit of a gift for him now as they get delivered Siphon points and material here. It's going to allow them to hold out. And now we're looking at a clean 2v2 here. High ground, Degen and Iamzo positioned up, points up very nicely as well.
Yeah, but now they have more materials than the low ground, and we're pulling out to where we haven't been so far. Eventually, the fight's going to pop off, and they should be able to just fight defensively. Elite tries to go up and immediately gets swatted down. The question is, can they execute? They might have enough from the heal ground. That's what we talked about. Might be able to get it out, but it's all on Cease now. Elite's not going to have the opportunity. They're going to try and spray up. Degen commits tons of shots going through, and you saw the headshot tags. They know they're white, finding it onto Cease as well. Back in the zone a little bit for some floppers. Going to be able to cover the difference. Degen goes down a little early, but I think he got a knock on that side. You can see first shot coming through. Yes, Iamzo finding Cease, but Elite puts a huge shot on Iamzo. He's going to get ticked down. We have a straight up 1v1. Degen with a massive HP advantage, and Degen and Iamzo take match number 1 with a 7 Elan victory royale.
Not only that, those end games, both teams willing to break through their builds, line opponents up from the other side of the wall, and go for the big trades. That is how top tier pros play 2v2s in end game. They're willing to take those gunfights to the very, very end. And it's Iamzo and Degen, man, who come out on top. It was close, though, for a second there, but Degen just had so much HP.
Yeah, and I mean, just a really good job. And I think Cease and Elite have shown a ton of development coming through as a duo. But realistically, Iamzo and his confidence, it comes from somewhere, right? He's been putting up results. He's been able to win matches like this and taking down that 2v2. Him and Degen just have to be ecstatic.
I mean, I love it. Iamzo is like basically the young bad guy in the scene right now. He's like, yeah, what's up? I'm cool, I'm good, and I got it like that. Now he picks up his first big FNCS victory royale on the main stage. I mean, that's how you do it.
That's how you have to kick off match number 1, but we're going to kick it on over the desk so Adam, Vivid, and SVG can break it all down. Gents?
Okay. Game 1, all right? 85 players left in the lobby. We all have a little go saying, who we think is going to win that game? Your boy here says, Degen Iamzo. Vivid? Now, you don't tell any fibs to people at home. I called that 100%, right?
No, I don't know what he's talking about. Do you know what he's talking about, SPG?
Mate!
Oh, no. We can't be doing him like that. Nah, he didn't call this. That was a beautiful play.
I don't know. I had this feeling early on. DJ and Yomzo, we saw very early on in right at the very part of the first part of the game there. We saw Yomzo going in pretty aggressively there with DJ, and there's a vibe about these guys right now, and we saw that taking the high ground, claiming it, and making sure that they just really dug away, did not let any Cease escape from that situation. And Vivid, we've got ourselves our first Victory Royale winners of the day.
Yeah, they went ahead and secured that high ground against Knifer and Bila, no other, who is actually their contested off spawn over there at that llama split. But we love to see that out of Cease and Elite. You know, we saw them in the semifinals. They came in at day 3, and they were just so consistent. They had the most placement points by far, and this game backs up how well they played in the semifinals, because they're starting strong today with a 2nd place.
Yeah, and they were playing this similar strategy, playing that low ground, playing the placement, and it works so well for them in the semis. And now it's continuing to roll. They might have found the secret sauce here.
Yeah, we've seen a few players with a bit of that secret sauce you're talking about, the SBG, who managed to do some good things in that first game, kind of really starting to make their claim that they are here to compete for finals. Obviously, we saw Miro, kind of trying to clutch up when Booga went down, managing to do so and going for it like he was on a mission. But we also saw the likes of Stretch as well, using the web shooters, managing to stay in zone just about to get a few more points on the border, which is key as well. You have to do those things. When one of your teammates goes down, you have to do whatever is necessary to remain in the game to get those placement points.
Yeah, and this is actually why that duo is so successful. We saw in Qualifier 1, actually, Commandment had so many solo clutch games where he just gathered so many points. He squeezed out as many placement positions as he could. And that's exactly what Stretch did there. So when you have a duo of players that can both just solo clutch up so well, it just, you do so well on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's a perfect combination. We saw a little 200 IQ play, a Stretch tanking the storm, letting his teammate go down for that extra siphon material. Really smart play to get just a little bit more out of that.
Yeah, super smart, and we'll see tons more smart plays at the course of the next 2 days, trust us. Should we take a look at the standings, how things are after game number 1 as well, and see exactly who is at the top right now? And Vivid, we can see that DJ and Yomzo, they have started strong. 53 points right off the bat here. It is looking mighty pretty for these two.
Yeah, they did start strong, but surprisingly enough, only a 3-point lead over Shadow and OMG Me, right? Like, how did these guys get all the way up there? They have 10 eliminations, and that's, contributing most of their points there. 30 of the 50 points are from eliminations. And we also saw Jamper and Dukes there. Dukes had, I believe it was 6 eliminations on his own, totaling 7 for that duo. 47 points, only 6 behind the lead. This leaderboard is crazy.
Yeah, that's absurd to get 10 eliminations going down that early. Normally, you win a match, you don't even get 10 elims in these style of lobbies, but we saw it from Shadow and OMG Me Too during the semis. They're on one right now, and just like Cease and Elite, those two may have found their own secret potion or recipe to succeed in these finals.
I couldn't agree more. Last week we saw a Season Elite as well managing to qualify. They had one chance on day 3 of semi-finals, and they just rode out that storm, getting all the way through, getting their storm surge, making sure they remain in the competition for as long as possible. And you can see there on the leaderboard as well, in the top 9 teams, only 3 eliminations for those two. Everybody else is popping off and getting a lot more, but they know they came second because placement is so key, and they know exactly what's up. Game 2 is on the horizon. It's all going to change up inevitably, because that's what happens here in this region. Anything is possible. We're going to head over to Sundown and to MDF and see exactly what's in store in Game 2. Over to you, boys.
Thank you so much, Adam, Vivid, and SBG. And with just one match down, we already see what the leaderboard kind of looks like. And I want to say, man, if I could, I don't want to say like second prediction, but I could talk about OMG Me Too and Shadow all day, because they've been such an interesting storyline coming through the qualifiers, and they're putting up these absurd performances on the back of heavy elims, Monster.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're leading in the elim compartment right now, and you can see how the points are reflecting just that. If they can continue to make end games and be as consistent as they have been, I mean, you've been championing for them for a long time now. A few seasons. It could just be their time now, right? Just the same way like Pam and Thatch, just coming on up and getting their stripes in, basically getting their reps in, and seeing them find success. But I think we got to give more credit to Yomzo and Degen. That Victory Royale coming out the gate, Knifer and Bila making that end game there. in a heated drop spot area, right? They have their eyes on one another. There's no safety in where they're landing. And let's just talk about Covert Cavern, right? Highly contested as well. So that whole entire area, for them to be on top right now, I mean, we gotta watch that area. There's so much action there.
Yeah, and I think it's super interesting, too, how Zone pulled over that area. And even then, you still see the two teams who are right around that battling back and forth and being the ones who try and hold height. It makes sense if they're establishing height early, but that critical take, it's got to feel so much worse if you're Knifer and Bila and you look back and you're like, oh, we had control. We were just so out of materials. If we could have just, like, beaten that challenge and gotten the refresh, we would have been all set. But want to know what is all set? Game number 2. Let's hop right in.
And here we have it. Game number 2 is set. It's ready. The battle bus is now taken off, and the players are looking to touch down. We're going to kick it off first at Rise and Aegis. This should be a pretty quick fight here. Greasy Grove, the hot spot, landing Blacktop. Instead of Aegis, and Rise goes off to the side. He gets the weapon first, and you can see what happens. It's an exchange. We have seen this before. We have seen this time and time again, but Aegis and Rise are just a little bit sharper today. They come out on top once again here.
Yeah, really good job being able to get onto that drop spot just a little bit quicker. Having that drop map ends up paying off, but over on the other side, Kriya looks like he fell down, and Teo trying to play a little bit defensively, hold the wall for Pledge, who's getting a reload off, but now they should be looking to push out into a 1v2 situation. Ideally, they can get a little bit of HP over onto Teo first, so not necessarily taking it down at too much of a disadvantage, but they have decent early game weaponry if they can get the ammo into it. Not having a full kind of clip magazine, whatever the term is, in that Stinger SMG makes it much less efficient, and you can see that auto shotgun, though, I mean, it's putting the work in these early fights.
Yeah, definitely. It's so good in the early game. I mean, you've been talking about it for some time now, right? It's underrated because the SMG just trumps over in most kind of situations here. This time it's SMG versus shotgun. Who's going to come out on top? Pledge just had the lead in all compartments there. And you know what? Nicely done for them. They're going to go ahead and keep themselves in the game right now. This is a top 8 team, mind you, so off to a strong start. And look at this. This is a different drop. Okay, so Iamzo and Degen actually mixing up the drop, not necessarily landing where we thought they were, or maybe they did. It's just an early rotate on out.
No shot they did. No chili chuck splashes, no excess builds on them. Looks like they're just landing over somewhere else. So we're going to take a peek over on Team New Age Cam. Right into the box of Crunchy. That was so smooth. Monster, I almost missed that. He hopped right on through the box. The timing was nearly frame perfect, and Crunchy is going to get crunched, stepped on, and squashed like a bug, sent back to the lobby. And you have to think that Mune Pure is not long for this lobby either, as he's going to get closed on the 1v2, and Cam has been putting in the work in these types of situations.
I mean, Cam's so good. He's really shown that he can flex out in you know, these type of PvP situations, these head-to-heads. You give him Bucky to back him up now, and yeah, it's definitely wraps. There's no way they end up losing a player here. I don't see it happening. But let's just talk about how much time they invested in that last game. Cam and Bucky nearly had the full end game. They got taken out just shy of the big moving zones there, and that's why they're in 20th. So they're in the upper half. These elims are going to bump them on up to top 18 now, but you know, they're just off the mark of where they wanted to be, considering they had all end games last time.
Yeah, but they're going to need to be able to put it all together, and you can see Knifer and Bila secured the llama from the llama split, so either they forced them out super early, but based on the timing and how quickly we swapped over to them and the fact that they rotated like south to north there, I don't think they were necessarily even trying to fight over, or maybe they just got a poor drop. We'll kind of keep an eye on that story. Maybe have the analysts take a look into it themselves. So we're going to swing on over to what was arguably a lot of people's favorites for NA East at the start of the season. Scented and Cold on the top of the screen have kind of cooled off a little bit towards the back half.
I like this, though. I like that they went back to Sleepy Sound, gave up the whole, you know, Covert Canyon. Covert Canyon is just a hot mess right now. You do not want to be a part of that. I don't even know what to call it, dude. It's just a melting pot. There's too many teams there, too many different inputs going on in that kind of situation. Here's Stretch and Commandment, though, hopping on over to the Coney Crossroad. They have this entire drop to themselves comfortably as well. Big vets that just, you know, honestly have forced players off just off of their reputation. No one wants to contest against them, and for good reason. But the question is, how are they finding their surge? What are they doing to actually stay in the game? They didn't have a problem at all last game. Look at this fight.
Talk about big vets, 20 combined finals appearances, but somebody who's been having this duo is really strange to me because they have such a disproportionate early game success, but then they just aren't able to put it together in the mid game when they generally are able to put it together. As we're going to get a little bit of a rewind to the beginning of this fight and see how Larson and Smite were able to pick up these 2 elims. Like when they have been able to transition it over, they're able to win games. Like they're able to put up points. It's just that something goes on and there's a disconnect. And generally teams don't have to work on their mid game, especially if you have such a strong early game like we've seen from them, but it's just not happening today, as you can see. MIH Moo not too happy with that result either.
Yeah, Smite and Larson were actually one of the few teams that was contesting Sleepy Sound, the north part, but it looks like they gave that up to allow another team to land there and then came back down here where they were fighting Dubs and Mega in the qualifiers, and they had a lot of success, like you mentioned, that Victory Royale being one of those, different factors for them. But yeah, most teams normally do very good if they make to end game, right? And early game and Storm Surge is the hard part. For Smite and Larson, that is not the case. It's the opposite. I want to see exactly just that. What is it that they need to continue to improve on? Because if they can find, the fix there, they're going to be off to, being one of the scarier teams throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, now we're going to swing on over. G2 Jock and Illust in a fight. It's Twix and Chubbs directly above them, trying to get the pressure down, going to end up boxing up together, making sure they're min-maxing their shields effectively. You want to avoid end up using those chili chug splashes in the early and mid game unless you have to, because there's such a strong rotation tool on top of being able to give you HP or shields. But now as we look in with our game 1 winners, they're in an awful spot. Yamzo, no builds whatsoever to his name. He is screaming for DJ to get to him and help because he needs to catch somebody off guard. He hits a huge shot onto Milks, backs him down completely. That was 92, but he's going to get taken down and finished before DJ can end up closing the gap. They're trying to take this fight a little bit to the north of him, but it looks like they're actually getting pressured out as now yet another duo is rotating in. You can see them on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That's 20, and they're getting a little bit of revenge for what happened in match number 1, Monster.
Yeah, definitely, and DJ has to be careful. The shots come in. He gets hit up in the process there. Now down to just wood builds. This is looking all too scary for our number 1 seeded team here. And this is rough. On the run they go. It's not looking too hot, but a great counter tag there. 77, 125 to finish the knock. DJ is just on fire here. Can he get the finish at least? It will be huge here. And this is an opportunity. But no, the left peek, and he just jumped on the ramp. He could have actually had it. So close yet so far. And just like that, DJ and Yamzo now taken out. And that is all the result of Knifer and Bila having a stronger drop this time around. They get to the llama first. You saw the hot info come in there, and that means they were forced out with no material.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really thought I was gonna clutch it there from a second, but
so
really good job and good composure to be able to stop for a second, get the Mitro stair flip, the Mongrel stair flip, the Kuna stair flip, whichever European player you want to credit it to, because let's be honest, they were doing it first, and able to kind of hit that right-handed shot coming through. So you can see Chubbs and Twix boxed up directly on top of Illis and Jock, but the thing is too, if both of these teams already have Surge and they feel pretty comfortable in their tags, there's no reason for them to fight each other. They both have great sight lines. Everyone's going to be rotating around them here, and if you invest just a little bit of brick, you can kind of just be friendly neighbors in that regard. Say, hey, you look one way, I'll look the other way. We both know shooting at each other isn't necessarily the best play, so let's just shoot at everyone else. And we kind of see these little factions end up building up. That's why people will build these apartment buildings, because there's a little bit of a strength in numbers. You never want to be that odd duo rotating in like Day and Clicks might have sought out right there.
Yeah, Day and Clicks are just aggressive to any duo that rotates in their general vicinity here. Looks like they have done another coastal rotate and just, again, looking to fight anyone that decides to rotate around them, play their general area. And look at this. They sort of get the zone to land right on top of them. There's more teams nearby. They're just swinging out, taking any of these gunfights here. No one's willing to challenge them, though. That was Beef and Nick on the rotate right there, trying to get to the zone. On the other side, OMG Meat and Shadow here are basically only standing top-ranking team as far as the next team that can strike for first right now. Looking good for them.
Yeah, a little bit of room to operate, and this was one of the teams that coming into the day before we saw some of the changes in the drop map, we could have said we're just GG, hey, good job making it to the final, you can collect your minimum payment and go next, because it looks like there was going to be 3 teams down at that turbine, which has a spot that, while has a decent amount of loot and good access, it's not central to the map. There's not just a ton of loot, it's pretty solid for duos, and a lot of contention out of that area when you have 2 strong teams in Greasy who resolve their fights quickly can be rough, but you know, so far really putting their names on the map yet again with a solid match number 1 performance. But we'll see if it translates, and with a relatively south central zone, it should be pretty free rotations for them. So as long as they're good on Surge, I anticipate we might see them in the end game again.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if that base next door is actually Sentence as well. He was kind of breaking open the line of sight. Wasn't afraid of a counter edit on the other side. So that's just like, you know, putting up the little fake base there. Kind of old strategy, but still very, very effective. Yeah, little scarecrows in the general area. Take a look here. Muzz is going to find himself a nice little hidden chest here. See what comes out of it. Nicely done. Some extra minis for the road here. He was probably hoping for some med miss or some extra whites, as he only has a med kit to work with here. And Avery off, just making his way to new zone. Tough for them.
Yeah, very tough. And there was a bonkers stat that was just floating in the top right-hand corner. Not sure if you caught that there, Monster. Not a single team in EU, NA East, or NA West that we've watched on broadcast so far this season has won a match if they have rebooted their duo. So even if you have immediately won a fight off of spawn and get that quick reboot, no team has gone on to win the game. So that is super interesting to me, because I feel like there would have been at least one, but then you kind of start looking through there as we get the Storm Surge warning on the right-hand side, and with 63 damage above, you can tell Strench and Commandment don't necessarily feel as comfortable about what they're doing there, but immediately called the same target. I mean, that's veteranship. That's the 20 NA, EF, and CS finals appearances right there. Go from 63 above to 200 above in a quick little 1-2-3. So now we swing on over to the duo we were just talking about, Shadow and OMG Me Too. Hey, as long as you're good on Surge, they're okay. But now they're rotating in on not the populated side of the zone with below Surge Monster, so they're going to struggle for targets here.
Yeah, and you can see they were willing to just W key the base just in case. There's no one here. They're already gone, and this is just spelling a very scary situation for this duo right now. They are very desperate to find some tags. They do both end up connecting there as they jump right up above that Surge threshold. It might buy them a little bit of time, but 18 players once again have to go down now in the next 45 seconds or so, and it's going to be all or nothing soon.
Yeah, this is a great sightline because they didn't have to invest their brick to end up building up on top of this. This was already here, so it's just a couple wooden ramps. But, like, there is no reason they should have been able to get tags on that side as we keep an eye in the bottom left-hand corner. I think one of the biggest things is if you're rebooting, no matter what, even if you are in a great position, you get somebody up, you're going to struggle with Surge unless you're able to full wipe that team you were against and get all of it. Like, Muzz and Avery, it doesn't matter how good they are in terms of HP, they're 313 below. That's on the bottom left-hand side. And our bottom right-hand side, we still have Nico and Polarize. We're going to zoom in with them. They're 198 below, and that's not really something you can make up with AR. So at this point, Monster, you need to get on your horse and you need to go.
And they've been doing that. They've been literally trying to soldier their way, march their way forwards right now. It's not looking too hot, though. Here it is. They get pressured in, shut down, and backed up. Nico goes down and full finish there. So out of the game he goes. Muzz and Avery, I have to assume, are just absolutely struggling right now. Definitely as the Surge is active here, and they're just approaching from the outside of zone. Polarized now. Lobby starting to realize what's going on here. They get focused out. The Surge finishes it off. Scented and Cold are the ones who get the Elim points there. Huge for them. Rokane and Joji, problem on the horizon here as well. They're trying to fire back at anyone here. I mean, open trades happening everywhere right now.
Yeah, some good shots from Rokane, but not going to be enough. Just praying that Joji continues splashing him. Like I said, he is tagging like one below, but he has hit nearly every single shot when somebody is opened up. He's winning the trade. He's not taking damage, but that's the last of the splashes. Now they're going to swap spots, and the pressure's on for Joji. Rokane did his job. He did as much as he could. It looks like Rokane's going to get a little bit more, even when his back is to the wall, and Joji's got all the util on him. 33 Rokane putting in the work and just barely hanging on by a thread. Right now, there is still 4 duos duos at least who is getting hammered by the damage, and Cease is going to swing just to the other side. If you keep an eye on the left-hand side, they're single digits above, just 9 above, trying to find the shots. Cease also 19 above. It's going to swing back below onto the left-hand side as they're taking that 25 damage every 5 seconds, and it's not turning off till that number in the top left-hand corner on the POVs turns to 70. So this has been a long surge, Monster.
This is it right here. It's all or nothing for Joji. One more tag and he is out. He has to find one here. Will it connect through? Looks like things are going to slow down a little bit, but no. Counter shots from the base next door. End up finding the final tags. Cease and Elite, unfortunately, inside the zone right now, having to play just barely above the surge threshold right now. It uses all their heals just to stay alive, and it's actually a 2-tick right now. They are far, far, far inside the zone here. I mean, luckily for them, these peppers are going to allow them to move up to speed here, but it's looking pretty tough for another top 10 team. Several of our top 10 teams having pretty rough games so far, so I would not be surprised if we have an extremely close standings after this.
Yeah, the top 10 team popped the pepper, but the points weren't plentiful in this match as the 2-tick zone will eventually force them out. You can see Cease trying to find it towards the side, but there's only so much you're able to do. It will finally turn off, but with no siphon, no heals, there's no hope as they will fall. And pretty much everyone but Shadow and OMG Me Too, who was on the top of the table, struggling here in match number 2. It's something that has generally been a trend across a lot of the FNCSs, where if you don't necessarily have that best first game in the finals, or if you have the best win the first game in the finals, your follow-up game can sometimes be a little bit difficult. But right now, it's not often we see pretty much the entirety of the top of the table go down early.
Yeah, and the feed is telling us even more right now. Knifer, Byla taken out there. Another team that made an endgame, gone. Beef and Nick caught as well in that crazy crossfire and all of that exchange there. They're now officially taken out. So several teams that were well within the top 15, top 10, falling out of the competition. That's going to give a lot of room for these top 20 to 30 or so players that have been just inside the game, but not quite where they need to be. An endgame opportunity to jump them on up.
Yeah, I can see right now some of the Storm Surge replays coming through, and like we talked about, Avery and Muzz, the reboot, they were the ones who triggered the stat coming through, but I mean, again, they didn't even win that fight off a drop in. He's trying to challenge into a full built metal wall. It's never going to go well. Redux and Savage, though, they'll be on the other end of that. They just put threats, just absolutely worked them, pushed in, and brilliantly executed there.
See, a lot of people sleep on that striker shotgun, right? They want to run double SMG, but that big chunky opener, you know, before a team can even realize what's going on and react is huge. And you saw what happened just there. It was a max damage out the gate there. Center's going to fall here on the rotate. Cold has to actually clutch up here for the save. He's going to step on in, start investing big material, but in comes the rest of the opponents here. Jamper and Dukes decide to take this opportunity to go in and rotate on the bottom. It's threats another player trying to slide in. Dukes gets brought down though. Big scare now for the duos here.
Yeah, a little bit of pincer going on in the lower part of the fight in the bottom right-hand side there. You can see Pamsa and Batch trying to get in on that action down there, but then Spade on the other side of that, putting the pressure on. We also saw Shadow end up picking up a knock in the feed in the top left-hand corner. Cold being forced to invest a ton, but Jamper going down. That's on the left side of the screen. Duke's going to be able to defend him and get one of the return eliminations. Also will get the confirm, hopefully to buy a little bit of space, but once you start shooting and people realize you're under pressure, the shots won't stop. Tons of metal invested here, but not a ton of space being bought back all the way into a corner. And finally, left side of the screen, Dukes gets a little bit of room to breathe, but not before Jamper will fully tick.
Not yet.
Got him.
He slides in. It's okay. So he's managed to hold him up. Yes, he has to splash there. He does get the splash as well. This is so huge. I can't believe he actually got the save there. You were calling. I was like, wait. There's hope. And that little slither of hope is going to keep Jamper in the game there. 2 elims for them. If they can get the pickup now and bounce back, which they should be able to, this is huge. Remember, they are sitting on an elimination worth of loot here, as Dukes did get that full trade. This is a huge time now for them to start branching out here. What team is this that's pressuring them in front of them? Because these guys are giving them so much problems here, but it looks like things are going to finally slow down now.
Yeah, it looks like the zone dropped directly on, no, not directly on top of them. It's actually a fire pull for them, so that's going to be a wee bit rough. As you see, left-hand side, currently 1 below 33 Cold. Well, he's going to say a 33 tag will put me right up and above. That's 29 above. On the right-hand side, you can see NPen and his duo, they're below. That's 21 below, trying to burn the minis. Just keep whatever HP. NPen has plenty in his inventory, but remember, every second you're taking a mini is a second you are not returning fire. On the top of the screen, we see Clicks take down Nick and Beef. They fall victims there, as we have two duos who are currently under pressure from Storage Surge. The threshold is very close. Make that one duo now, as NPen and Zemo are the only ones taking the damage, as Cold does get picked up. That's Chimp who's able to take him down. NPen opens up, but he's only finding the metal from the car, offering great cover there for that duo who's rotating through, and NPen trying to find some shots, and that's huge shots there.
So big, and he does have the hands to go in and get the rotate here, the Spider-Man hands, but no! Unfortunately gets taken out in the process, so Zemo has to clutch up and play as a solo now, but hey, at least he did find a little bit of those tags from NPen. Someone else now getting tagged just nearby, so Surge is still active here, as it finally does end up subsiding there in the feed. Kanata still getting active, so actually finding some eliminations. Illest as well, just now, but Playify gets traded. Oliver OG left by himself now as well. No HP for him. He gets finished and fully taken out there. That's to the hands of Trashy and D-Roller, but Stretch and Commandment pushing in on them, taking advantage of the chaos there too. It is just all-out battle down here in this low and congested areas. Everyone tries to pretty much make their way on up here, and it's not looking too hot. But for Clix and Day, finally now, they are on their feet. They're in the end game. They have so much to work with here. It's their opportunity to actually jump back into this game.
And Duke's getting the full confirm there. On to Fatch. Rough first and second game there for Fatch and Pamson, trying to make some plays happen, but I believe that's them falling outside of the top 25, as we have 44 players up. We still have 26 duos on their feet, so a couple of free riders going through. I believe we got 8 solos who are running around, doing their best to try and hang into the match. As you can see right now, Duke's Jamper trying to find a little bit of space. They do have priority here on the zone. They're just going to try and walk it back out.
Yeah, Duke's just eyeing up the loot right here, hoping that it was going to go that way. He does end up securing some here, but Acorn in pressure as he tries to make his rotate. Looks for the recycled launch pad, but no. Gone. Shut down and taken out as a solo there. Walker's in the end game now as well, holding on to top 20. Booga and Miro here too. 75 damage above. Looking for the fight here. Goes for the wall take, but there is no one home. It was an empty and vacant base already, as teams are starting to air themselves out and get their rotates going. So nothing free here. They're going to have to go ahead and commit the peppers here for the rotate. And I like this. On high ground, it's Cam and Bucky right now, just barely. Cam and Bucky right now, just barely in there, but they are definitely holding on to height. Jamper gets, I was going to say landed on by Dukes, but no, they're a teammate. They're working with each other. It's just high octane, high pace rotates going in right now. Dukes is still getting active. This is the second person he catches with a full box up, but this time couldn't find the shots. Jamper, though, does end up exchanging. They're 1,000 damage below. They've been so good this game. Redux falls to the storm there just in the final moments. And look at this. Things are starting to go down now as the rotates are coming through.
Yeah, and there's a bounce back here. As you can see, everyone immediately turns around, and that's so big for Bucky and Cam, because they already invested a sizable amount to connect this high ground. But now you can see Ages of Rise. They're saying, hey, who's on up here? Is there a play to maybe be had? As they're going on up. Here they go, the G2 player trying to find a little bit of gap, but immediately Cam says, no. This is mine. Invest in the high ground. Chop comes through, and Ages gets slapped down. He says, maybe that's a little bit too many mats, and he will fall, as him and Rise are going to go right back down. Didn't all the way go to the low ground, but they went to the front side of the zone. Now we still have the energy duo of Clix and Day operating in a relatively same area, but we'll swing back on over to Energy Bucky and TNA Cam up on the high ground, raining down shots.
And for the first time we see their perspective, they're starting to really run low on material here. It's getting tougher and tougher for them to maintain this all the way through the end game. That little bit of a bounce back was maybe the opportunity they needed to stay in this one, but Dukes, though, still active here alongside Jamper. Also, decent on material for being on a low ground team. He finds a fresh 4-pack on the backside of the zone. Big pressure here. Can he get the full finish? No, he doesn't, but he does steal the material there. This is huge for them. Those are actual metal as well. Rise still in this game. Larson and Smite make it all the way through to end game 2. These are big teams here.
But Clix and Day are on the level below high ground, and they're looking back into the zone, spraying them down. Bucky and Cam were able to pick up an Elam to get a little bit of an elimination, but there's the high ground fight. Clix is up, and he's taking it away. Energy on energy violence, and Cam is down. Bucky is sent down. They invested way too much, way too early. And Day and Clix say, yoink, that's mine. High ground taken over. Now Bucky going to force to make plays with only 3 builds. He does have some iron walls as well if he needs a little bit of defense, but it's going to be tough.
He has so much heals to work with and no time to really use it here. The big pots are just the worst kind of heal you can have in the end game right now. You want to have those quick heals for high ground though.
20 combined builds.
Clicks a rocket comeback here. 6 eliminations already and so much more opportunity to find some down low. But Agers and Rise are just on fire from an early game battle now to the end game here, staying consistent all the way through. 3 eliminations. This is so big for them. Actually, 3 just for Rise, 4 on Agers. Make that a big 7-piece for them. They are on fire right now. Top 5 team here. Only 10 players remaining, so it's all duos in the game.
Everybody has a buddy, and Clix and Day had 20 combined builds before that, but they did get a refresh, and they got another one, and yet another one finding through. Miro's going to be the one who picks up Smite, but that should be enough builds for Clix and Day to ride the high ground out. 2v2v2, and the low and the mid-ground teams are fighting. That's Jamper and Dukes versus Booga and Miro on the opposite side. Clix and Day just have to chill. They just have to wait. Rise and Agers are chilling on the low ground, so the teams on the mid-ground are getting pressure. They're effectively fighting for 3rd and 4th, and we should see a low and a mid-ground change unless somebody ends up dropping down. But Day and Clix are running thin on builds, Monster.
Every single team in this game right now is so good. Each of these duos are just exceptional in these types of situations. All of them have so much frag power and clutch potential here. Dukes and Jamper definitely are on the one right here. Let's see what they can do here. They start sliding into Agers and crew. They actually catch Miro and Booga. They bring them down. They're not everyone down. Here comes the next one as well. Can they get the finish? Yes, they work together. They've dismantled 2 teams. Make it 3 if they can catch one here. Day gets chunked big time here. A 90 tag is going to put him in a hurt. Clix comes down to try to defend him. He shuts him down. He actually catches both for the troubles there. Brings him on up to 9 eliminations. Clix on the low here, waiting to hold this player out in the zone. It should be all she wrote here, but Agers does not want to give it up without a fight here. He cranks on up to the high ground. He has the mask to hold out here as well. Tries to play smart there to reinforce himself, and this is all or nothing now. Clix looks up to height. He's trying to go in and get this, but no, he realizes he has no material. This is it here. They actually have to take the gunfight all the way through. They actually heals Clix here. It's all or nothing. They bring him on down. Agers with a reinforcement, but no, he can't do it. The side angles are just a little bit better, and just like that, that was a ridiculous game 2 in a clutch for Clix and Day.
Oh, so well played from Clix and Day, but I mean, if I'm Agers, I am screaming in that moment because he had the iron walls. He could have forced them completely out. He could have trapped them out on the low ground and been a little bit more aggressive and reinforced himself there. He had more than enough to close them out, but what a performance from Day and Clix. The way they controlled the high ground and were able to drop down, get eliminations together, and then go back up, and then they close out the final 2v2 when it looked like Agers might have had enough.
It may not seem like a lot, but guys, that was like some elite top-tier gameplay, some of the best duos this scene has to offer. All alive, very healthy, very matted up, big ammunition, like everything. It's like you put them in a Storm Wars game and you made them play this end game out. That was so tough. It could have went any way, and that is why it wasn't a clear win for Clix and Day. They had to fight for that one.
So exciting, but on the points wise and on the leaderboard, it's going to end up being a clear win. That was a bunch of points, and to break down what match number 2 meant to the overall circumstances, we're going to kick it on over. Adam, Vivid, SBG, take it away.
All right, listen up, you lot, okay? We wanted to see this in finals, that you had like consistent top-tier AAA duos going at it together, and that is what we got in game 2 there. It was insane. We saw Cam and Bucky on the high ground. We thought back to last week's qualifiers, thinking they had high ground a couple of times, a couple of victory royales. They're clearly going to keep it to themselves, but suddenly Clix and Day doing what they did last week as well, which is reclaiming the high ground, being aggressive, and they came through, and it was just an absolute wonder touch to witness that, to bear witness to it as spectators there. Vivid, so many great players in the lobby at the same time.
Yeah, I loved it right there. The last 4 teams were such high caliber players. We had Dukes and Jamper versus Booga and Miro versus Agers and Rise versus Clix and Day. It was just so amazing to watch, and all of them just going at it 2v2v2v2, but Clix and Day coming out on top, and that's simply because they found a refresh in the middle of that game and they took advantage of it. As soon as they got it, they immediately played for height and just stole it right out from under Bucky and Cam, and we see it from Clix and Day all the time. They love to use their momentum against anybody that they can. As soon as they find a refresh, they instantly act on it, and that game right there was a perfect showing of why it works so well.
Yeah, those guys thrive in the chaos that is endgame, but so many of those duos picked up massive games. We saw a 9 elim, a 7 elim, an 8 elim, and rarely do we see all of these duos. Typically, it's like one duo and then a bunch of solos navigating somewhere through that endgame, but rare option right there to see all 4 duos still up and then go head to head right at the last moment.
Yeah, I mean, we saw so many familiar, I mean, for the players as well, they saw so many familiar faces in that last, in that end game as well, because so many players have been on the same teams as each other as well, like Mira and Day there, Booger and Jamp. I mean, this is why these guys are the top of the regions, like leaderboards a lot of the time, because they all seem to be there in that end game of it. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, and that's why we see so many eliminations, right? Because they're all just so good. That's why we see no solos either, because when you have that high of a caliber number of players left, they just kind of like root those solos out because they take advantage of any kind of disadvantage that other players have.
They cleaned out that lobby, and then it was just like, all right, the best of the best. Let's figure this out all between ourselves. Oh, I want to see how this plays out on the leaderboard, because that was chaos.
Totally. Let's have a look at that leaderboard right now, because I think, as a Sundown alluded to as well, it's going to be changing up big time, and this is how it looks after game 2. Jamper and Dukes have risen to the top, 15 eliminations, almost at 100 points, and with 97. Vivid, it has been a solid start from these two.
Yeah, I mean, 97 points after only 2 games. You cannot be upset with that. I'd love to see this mechanical prowess, especially from Dukes. There were a lot of times in that endgame where we were highlighting him, and he was just going so fast. So many actions that he was doing that, like, I was, like, having a hard time keeping up with, but just incredible to see. But, you know, what's crazy is Clix and Day, obviously, not so good of a game 1, but a solid game 2, and that only puts them in that 5th position with 62 points in that Victory Royale. And then also DJ Nyamza with the other Victory Royale down there in 7th place. So far, our 2 teams that have gotten Victory Royales are pretty far down the leaderboard, so they have to keep consistent in how well they're playing to compete with these teams that are just picking up 15 eliminations in 2 games.
Yeah, we saw Aegis and Rise going crazy there in that last game, but 2 teams we really haven't seen are Spade and Chimp, and then Teo and Pledge. Those guys have kind of stayed under the radar, but they're popping off on their own accord. We see them in 3rd and 4th place, 13-10 elims, and the placement is so consistent from them. I think they're figuring something out. I've been seeing them on the mid ground, just navigating, finding ways to get through these games and picking up a couple of refreshes. Hey, maybe it's time for one of those 2 teams to grab one of these Victory Royales.
Yep, certainly. It could well happen in game number 3. Obviously, you know, we saw in EU last year a lot more aggressive right out the gate in the finals. The same thing's happening here on NAE. Game 3 is here. It's ready to roll. Let's head over to Sundown MDF to bring us all the action.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And closing in on the halfway point monster, but honestly, so far, the back-to-back 3rd place performances coming out of Jamper and Dukes. 7 elims, 8 elims. That's been a pretty solid opener.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking like EU up there with how many points, how many elims, how consistent they've been so far. If they can maintain that, I mean, they'll be shutting down this competition pretty early, honestly, leaning into it. We've seen teams in these 2-day finals break away with a huge lead and play just good enough out of day 2. That's the kind of start you want. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, too, is they're balancing it out between the placements and the eliminations. And with the fact that elims are +3 per, so already getting 45 points based off of that. Generally, when you see a team towards the top who has those 3rd place plus 3rd place, they're really banking on that heavy consistency. And then that means for the rest of the lobby that, hey, if that team falls off, you can kind of catch up a little bit, but we don't need to catch up anymore, as we're going to hop right on in to match number 3.
Here it is, game number 3 of the NA East Finals. Just day number 1, though, so stay with us as things are starting to heat up here. The leaderboards really showing who's the breakaway players. Jamper and Duke, Aegis and Rise, Spade and Chimp are up at the top with a nice, comfortable lead. But for Rise and Aegis, it has been an uphill battle. Great start so far. Aegis manages to find 1 and then 2 there. And just like that, another 6 points. The riskiest drop of any team we've seen in the top position so far of any finals, I'd say, and they've managed to hold it down. Very close though, round after round.
I just really appreciate it's the very little things going through the input speed to be able to land directly on top of that vending machine. grab one of those Stinger SMGs out and then equip it in that time. It's pretty bonkers as we're going to swing on over to Golden and Walkers, who are going to be able to take that fight here over on the eastern side of the map. They're going to feel good about getting that resolved pretty quickly, as Walkers also avoids being full finished, which is definitely a boon coming through, as the Threats is going to pick up the full confirm onto Iron Star, and we're going to get a replay of what went down here.
Yeah, more and more battles happening everywhere. This is up against Spegu and Charlie here. I mean, a team that is, you know, they've been around for a long time, have made their, you know, their staple names known in the scene. And Walkers and company coming on in, just saying, hey, you know what? We want a piece of this limelight. We want a piece of the action here. And you know what? Golden and Walkers are holding it down right now. Top 20. This is great.
Yeah, keeping an eye on that top left-hand corner. We talked about not seeing a ton of him. Well, we definitely will see him in this match as Pledge and Teo get taken down.
Huge eliminations there. They were inside the top position. That falls to the hands of Creo. Probably going to have to take a look at that and how that went down. Duke and Shadow now tied for the most elims coming out of game one at a big 6 there for Dukes and Jamper. I mean, look at them just set up pretty here. Their draw stop being the Logjam Lumberyard. And again, remember, we saw them fight DJ and Niamzo in that last game as well. They were one of the teams that rotated just into them and, you know, end up shutting some players down a little bit early. So we'll see how that ends up happening for them as DJ and Niamzo, mind you, we're in the lead coming into game one or game two, and they got taken out.
It largely has to do with how the zones fall depending on where you're going to end up rotating to. So now you can see, little update, day clicks, ages, chip time for the most elims. 5 in game number 2. We're going to swing on over to them over at the Joneses. Energy Duo doing a really good job, and I think that's a nice little bit of min-maxing coming out as well. People don't realize on these routes are in a lot of circumstances. Unfortunately, Clicks falls down there. He's going to over a cavern, as you can see. Hawk trying to put some shots down, him and Nosh. That's going to be their second elimination coming through, and Muzz and Avery have been cleaned up there. So we're going to take a look at some of the other OhPhux517's action you might have missed.
Here's the way that all unfolded here. Muzz and Avery do end up initiating the fight here. Catch a couple elims there, but around maybe a little too long, maybe too much dancing. They got a little bit of that karma. Some swift serve there. They just might see what they end up clutching this battle up. That's what we saw inside the P8. Huge eliminations on the Pledge there. Now, we're action here. Notching.
Looks like they have control of that Volky. They'll base off of the note right after I say that. I lied. Nosh was in there and getting all of the spoils sitting on the third that's in there.